What is going on, y'all? Thank y'all so much for being here. The comments are already coming in faster than I could respond to them on LinkedIn. So let's take a minute and say hi to everyone. That is Shannon Nelson. What's going on, Shannon? Good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Julie Griffin is joining us from YouTube. Hi, Julie. Andrew Bennett is joining us. Nathan Hill, Randy House, Melanie Robledo, Amber Williams, good to see you. Hey, Lisa Marie, how are you doing? Here's Chris Smith. I was just talking about you backstage, man, because telling Tiffany she needed to connect with you. Shree is here. What's going on, Shree? The video queen of LinkedIn. Aaron Mangum. What's up, brother? How is everyone? Thank y'all for joining us. If you notice, it's driving me nuts just because, hey, Christina Collar, I see you. It's driving me nuts because I like my colored background. I love having my colored background. I'm very anal about it. But hey, Steven, I'm fixing to move office buildings, and I thought I was moving last week, so I tore everything down, like all my lights. I had to put this light back up for today. All my lights, everything's gone. So I'm sitting here in my office light with no colors in the back, and it's driving me crazy. So anyway, I just felt like I needed that disclaimer, even though I know I really didn't. Yeah, I know exactly. Where are the colors? That's what I'm talking about. So look, you can't see them, but they are right there on the floor. There's a pile of lights right there. So anyway, so my guest today, I met her a couple weeks ago. She showed up in the comments when Jenna was on the show. We connected, like she sent me a connection request. We connected, we got on a Zoom call. She's doing some amazing things with an amazing company. So I'm going to let her tell you all about it. And I'm going to welcome Tiffany Mynatt. Hi, Tiffany.
Hey everyone. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yes. So you work for, and we were just talking about this backstage and what I'm fixing to say. Tell us about Tiffany, but you work for a company that is just like doing some really, really cool stuff. So tell us about that. And then we can kind of get into maybe a little bit of your backstory and how you got into it.
Okay. Well, I'll kind of come back around to persevere. Uh, when I spoke to you a few weeks ago, you asked me my involvement with people who are justice involved. And I don't have a direct connection. I've not been incarcerated. I don't have friends or family who have been, but something I've noticed about myself is I seem to be hardwired to give communities who are maybe marginalized or what I call underheard a
Mm-hmm.
voice, or to shine a little more light on them, because I think it's my passion is building bridges.
Mm-hmm.
So my background is actually education, and I've spent a lot of time in the classroom. So children are my first love. And one of the things I loved about teaching, and I'm not very traditional. I'm all about open-ended learning. We had I believe in learning through the senses, not sitting down with a piece of paper and pencil, but moving around and learning that way. But one thing that I tried to always do with my students, and my last group was a group of kindergarten boys. In the beginning of the year, I thought, how is this going to go? But it was a great group to end on as far as education. We had the best year. And one of the things that I tried to do daily was to take them outside and give them something tangible, like a hoop or a scarf. And we would move around, and I would have them repeat mantras. I'm a great person. I'm a great friend. I'm an amazing person. I deserve good things. Just those,
Mm-hmm.
it seems a little cheesy, but to a 5-year-old, that's really planting a seed. And
Sure.
I know that they hear encouraging things, but I wanted that to be kind of my calling, and my privilege to plant the seed with them. And then I moved from that to working with adults with disabilities, which I absolutely love. That brings me
Mm-hmm.
such joy to work with adults with disabilities in employment. And so we would go out and give them a chance to explore various jobs in the workplaces, see what their skills and interests are, and then try to arrange employment based on that rather than just pigeonhole them
Right.
into a specific job. So that was a lot of fun because it meant a lot to me to be able to put them out in public and say, hey, these are people who have capabilities, they have skills, they have gifts. Let's shine a light on that and then take advantage of having them in our lives and seeing that joy. And while I was in that field, I had somebody that I worked closely to say, hey, there's this opportunity to work with reentry individuals in the same employment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like this light went off. And I thought, I feel like I should have been doing this all along. So it kind of brings me around to what I'm doing now. But just bridging that gap, because we
Mm-hmm.
are all humans. And I really like showing that, like I said, that those underheard communities do
Yeah.
have a voice and they need to be
Mm-hmm.
heard.
Mm-hmm.
So currently I'm working at Persevere, which is a nonprofit that assists individuals who are justice impacted. We have 2 grants that we work under. We have come out of Memphis, and I was telling Chris a few minutes ago that we've moved from Memphis, where the program is going very strongly, and we're moving into East Tennessee. So I'm in Knoxville, and I have my territory is Knoxville. We have Chattanooga, Upper East, like Kingsport, Tennessee, Johnson City.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're moving into this area and trying to reach out to let people know what we are doing with this grant. So the grant covers a coding course. It covers all the costs of the coding course and the equipment of the coding course. It originally was designed to go into correctional facilities, and we had instructors that would either go in person or remotely. It was designed to last 12 months. And when the individuals were 18 months out from release, they could start taking the class. And then at the completion of the course, they are certified as full stack developers, which opens up a huge door of opportunity. And then we moved it into the community. So anyone who is justice involved or at risk is eligible to apply for the course. And that means, whether you're currently incarcerated, have been, run the risk of being, have a family member who is or has been, if you receive public assistance, if you're in that community that lends, if there's any at-risk involvement, then you are eligible to apply for the course.
Yeah.
And it takes a little bit longer when you're in the community, because let's assume that you've got employment and so you need something to accommodate your work schedule. We have 3-hour windows that individuals can go in and take this. And it is remote when in the community. Again, we do provide the equipment, and upon graduation, you get to keep the laptop and the equipment that we send. So one of the privileges I have is networking with various companies. So mostly it's tech companies. I do network with non-tech because, not everybody is tech savvy, but we do need a database of businesses that are willing to work with our graduates
Mm-hmm.
or our justice impacted people
Yep.
with a background. But I do network with tech companies and ask, there are various ways that you can partner with us. You can do direct hire. We have the ability to do contract work. So if you want to outsource,
Okay.
we've got that possibility. We focus a lot on apprenticeships and internships, because that's a
Mm-hmm.
great way to get on the job training, just
Mm-hmm.
ask questions. So a lot of that going on. And then mentoring. So we have individuals need to practice interviewing, their interview skills, mock interviews, job shadowing. So lots of different ways that they can partner. And then also, what I love doing that, but I also love community outreach. So if I can go out and talk to community agencies that have interaction with at-risk communities, then I love for them to spread that
Mm-hmm.
news, to spread the
Mm-hmm.
fire. And look, when I go get my oil changed, I'll hand them my card. Hey, if you know anybody who is eligible to apply for this course, please let them know that this is available
Yeah.
to them. And then just going and like I really enjoy getting to go to, I'll go to intake and the daily reporting center and talk to them about what's going on. And it's just a great way to engage. And
Yeah.
so it's kind of where, bring it full circle there.
Yeah. Shannon had a question. Do you do anything with the manufacturing industry?
I do. So we have several companies here. We've got the warehousing industry, manufacturing, factory work, but I also like to reach out to various types of employment just because I want to have options for any interest.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have I've got to answer your question, yes, Shannon, but I do have I have another community agency that covers the cost of culinary. I was like, where's the word? Culinary school. And that's
Very
another,
cool.
I think it's, yeah, it's excellent resource.
Very, very cool. Um, One of the thing that I think is just the coolest about this is provided free of charge to the students, right?
Correct. Because we
That
have
is
the,
just that's just made. Hey, hang on, let me say hi to Holly. Holly hadn't been on here in a bit. What is going on, Holly? So Holly used to be on LinkedIn, and then she left LinkedIn, and she still pops in and says hi every once in a while. So it is good to see you, Holly. Thanks for dropping in. Um, and that totally derailed my train of thought. See, I told you it happens.
opportunity. Oh, hey, but that makes me feel so much better. Like opportunity. So yes, it
Yeah,
covers
opportunity.
we have
Yeah.
the tech grants. It covers the cost of the course and the equipment. Memphis has a different grant that's Families First, but that's not. It's we're hoping to pull that into East Tennessee because it covers wraparound services. But right now
Mm-hmm.
in East Tennessee, we're strictly under the Tech Alliance grant. But yes, it covers the
Okay.
costs.
That is amazing. Yeah, squirrel for sure, Chris. Because I've seen it happen time and time again. People get out, get off probation, or come out of rehab, or whatever, and they don't have anything, and they want to do something more than you know a labor job, or contract labor, or fast food, or whatever. But one, they have to work ungodly hours just to make ends meet. But two, they don't have the money to afford anything like that. So to give somebody something that is a real job that can end up making them enough money to live on, and just letting them do it for nothing, and then offering all the flexibility of the different time slots throughout the day and all that kind of stuff, that to me, that's just amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
And if it's again, not everyone's tech savvy. I try to learn as much as I can about a lot, just so I have little
Right.
smidges of information in my brain. There's not
Right.
a lot of room in there for a lot about a lot. But I've learned a lot about coding, a lot about AI, the chat GPT and AI is
Mm-hmm.
fascinating. We've been having a lot of conversations surrounding those topics. But it's not everybody's cup of tea, but we
Mm-hmm.
still like to have things available. But yes, it's a great opportunity. I mean, entry level is here, at least it's between $75,000 $90,000. And you're right, when individuals are coming out of incarceration, and we've all talked about how we drop, well, I have nothing to do with it, they get dropped downtown. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't know that they have uh, they get their commissary leftovers and whatever they've brought in, if it's still available. But they very often don't have direction, as you know.
Right.
And that's very frustrating. I mean, if you want to see me get on a soapbox, that's it right there. Is that they're
Yeah.
dropped, and not only you don't have transportation, you don't have a place to go, you don't have employment, but you're expected to check in with your PO tomorrow or the next day, and you're
Mm-hmm.
expected to be at DRC. Well, how are you going to get there? How are
Mm-hmm.
you going to, there's public transportation, but do you have money for public
Right.
transportation? Do you
Right.
have, are you going to be able to get to DRC in time? Are you going to be able to, check out that probation grocery list
Mm-hmm.
is
It's
crawls all
it's a
over
real
me,
thing. Yeah,
because
I already know.
something that I take for granted, and that I can stay out to midnight if I want to, all these little things that I can do that are on that list, and you violate one of them and you're going back, what?
Right.
So that the whole probation thing is, it's such a setup for failure, and that
Hmm.
infuriates me, because
It is.
everybody should be working to create success stories and setting those who are justice impacted up for success.
Yeah.
So that's where my calling is.
I love it. And I love that, most of the people I interview that are working for an organization that helps people that are justice involved have a history of it. So that's why they're passionate about it. Um, you might be the first person I've interviewed that I can remember. I've interviewed a lot of people that is not justice involved at all and has this kind of passion for it. Like, to me, that's pretty cool.
And it and there's sometimes that, and in fact, I don't, I guess because we were going to have this live stream, I dreamed, I guess this morning, but last night, I have really off the wall dreams, but I dreamed that I was in jail. I have dreamed that before. And again, probably because of this upcoming conversation,
Right.
but I don't know what it's like. And I've got, uh, I work with, I've worked with several people that I've tried to stay in touch with. For some reason, it's mostly males. I'm, I work with both, but it tends to lean toward the male population. And I try to keep in contact, and they know, excuse me, they know that they can count on me. They know that they can call
Hmm.
me. They can reach out when they need to. I'm going to be a natural support. I guess I consider myself Aunt Tiffany or the big sister, and they know that I am that genuine person that they can reach out to. And I don't have a magic wand. I can't fix all the problems, but they know that I'm here, and so I can listen to their stories. I've talked to a couple when they were in custody, and they've got their tablets and they'll show me around, and it's, I, I can hear their descriptions and kind of paint that picture, but I still can't be there.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. So you mentioned something, and then we kind of chased a squirrel, and I didn't come back to it right away. Something about culinary. Yeah.
We don't, it's not covered under our grant, but I work
Mm.
with a local agency here in Knoxville, and uh, the employment coordinator there that I've talked to is just lovely. I love her, um, her approach, and we've had some great conversations. But they have the culinary program with, it's the Knoxville Leadership Foundation and Knox Works. But the Knoxville Leadership Foundation, if you were to Google that, you could probably navigate to that.
Okay.
And then they've also got, in this building, they have construction opportunities, and it's really cool because it's like you get to go to shop and practice your skills and see if it's something that you enjoy. And
Yeah.
this is the location that will partner with us in the daily classes. So if you take the 3-hour class during the day,
Hmm.
they can accommodate that. I'm still looking for something that accommodates that evening window,
Hmm.
but they've been very gracious to host us.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Um, have you had issues like what has been the overall reaction to you approaching companies about hiring a felon that has taken your course and graduated from it? Like, what kind of feet blowback, if any, have you gotten from that, or has it been mostly positive, or just kind of tell us about that?
Yes, and that leads me to, I had a story that I wanted to insert somewhere. I I get to go to a lot of community events, networking events, and a couple of months ago, I went to the Economic Workforce Summit breakfast, and there were
Okay.
probably 450, 500 people attending this breakfast. It was
Wow.
4 hours long, and we were just talking about community employment, the workforce, the patterns that we're seeing over the years, and predictions, forecasts. And during that 4 hour time, we spent at least an hour and 45 minutes, 2 hours around having conversations surrounding the topic of hiring individuals with a background, fair
Mm-hmm.
chance hiring, the benefits of doing so. We had people in the audience who wanted to get involved and ask questions and share how much they wanted to see this happen. We had panels of community members and panels of business owners and human resource managers. And then we had like the mayor was there, the commissioner was there, and the whole conversation was positive. It was forward going. It was one of the most encouraging things that I have been able to hear so far, because there were so many people, nothing negative. And
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how the conversation was going to go, but that was, I left. We were downtown, and I remember walking back to my car and just being giddy because we had such a positive conversation about this
Yeah.
topic. So I always reach out when I meet people. I reach out by email and I say, you know what, I met you at this place. I want you to know what I'm doing. I want to see how we can partner, even if it's not an employment connection. It's just how can
Mm-hmm.
we work together to spread this fire
Mm-hmm.
and encourage employers to hire fair chance. To directly answer your question, I have yet to have a negative response. Nobody has ever said, you know, I just don't believe in what you're doing. It's always, that's needed. We really need that. And then, of course, my question is, okay, so how do you want to partner?
Right. So what are you going to do
And
about
they,
it?
I gotcha. So how do you want to partner? I'm gonna call you on this. I'm gonna make you commit.
Got him.
Yeah. And they can't always, I'm not always talking to the human resources director per se, or the
Right.
hiring manager. My cat has she's got a claw in my sleeve. Okay. They always want to be a part of the conversation.
Yeah, let him come on with
I have 3
it.
black cats that always want to hop up and be part of the conversation. Working from home. But
Right.
yeah, it's, hey, how do you want to partner? Because these are the ways you can partner. You don't necessarily have to do direct hire, but here we
Mm-hmm.
go. This is my list.
Mm-hmm.
And they, even if they can't say yes, they can give me the contact person for the company. And I do
Yeah.
a lot of research as to who these people are that I need to contact. But I've had some really encouraging conversations lately with those who are actually excited. And I can tell, you know, one of the things, another reason I'm so passionate about bridging the gap is the communities that I advocate for. It's people can be uncomfortable with what they don't know. People are uncomfortable with what they don't know. Let's just put it like it is. They're uncomfortable with what they don't know. And if I can help educate, shine a light on that, and make them more
Mm-hmm.
comfortable, then it makes an easier transition when I say,
Mm-hmm.
hey, can you? And I can always tell when there's the hesitancy and then when it's a genuine excitement. And I had a conversation the other day with a guy that I really do hope we form a partnership with. But he was, you just, it's cool when you can get into a conversation and you kind of, you throw that fireball back and forth.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know that it's 2 people that can spread this and be
Yeah.
excited about it.
Yeah.
But
For
yeah, my
sure.
response is always positive.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's really similar to, and I may have told you whenever we got on our call a couple of weeks ago. Um, and I say it at the end of every show, like the support I've gotten for this on LinkedIn, a place that I would have never thought this would have been a place, to get support from, has just been overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like it's just, and it, it feels good when you get a lot of support, it fuels that fire.
Absolutely.
It
And it
keeps you
leads in.
going.
That's exactly this. That's where I found you. That's where I have found so many contacts, even if it's not here, if it's not local, you know,
Mm-hmm.
Genevieve and Harley Blakeman
Harley
and
Blakeman, he's on my list
and
of people
Andre
I
Pear.
want to
Yeah,
interview. Yeah.
absolutely. You need to bring him in. Andre Pear, love his, you know, this whole philosophy and what he's doing. But these guys are making headway, and I would love to be that Knoxville person who's on this team making
Mm-hmm.
this happen and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, shouting from the mountaintop. But I have met some amazing people on LinkedIn, so shout out.
Yeah, for sure. Uh,
Yeah.
it really is. It's amazing. Got a new one here. Yep. I told her she needed to connect with you, Chris. We were talking literally like 2 seconds before we went live. We were talking about
Right.
you. I said, you got to go connect with him. I said, You'll know which Chris Smith it is because he's the big jacked up dude posting gym pictures all the time with great content though. It's not just gym pictures, it's great content. Um, yeah, he's a good dude. He'll be on the show next week, actually.
Oh,
Real
cool.
excited about that. Yeah, yeah.
Listen to that.
Um, he works with a lot of guys that have struggled with addiction. And I don't remember if he's ever been locked up or not. We had a conversation, but it was months ago. Anyway, back to this conversation.
That's well, and speaking of, I mean, that's when you and I spoke the first time, that was one of my topics. And in fact, when you were talking with Genevieve, one of my questions to both of you was, where do you see, as far as addiction? I work very closely with a lot of individuals who are trying to navigate their sobriety and trying to commit to that. And it is hard. And you all know it is hard. And I see that it is hard. And I acknowledge that for you. But I am also your cheerleader. And one of my questions to a lot of community leaders is, what are we going to do? What are we doing? What's going to happen? When you look at addiction is very often the symptom of a greater condition. So what are we doing?
Yeah,
what are we going to do? And how are we making that priority in dealing with the overall, the holistic approach to addiction and the condition that it's a symptom of?
Yep.
So that's another soapbox issue, but that's something that I see a lot, and it needs to be addressed.
Yeah, it does.
More fully.
Yeah, exactly. And it's almost always it's not just, I mean, I stumbled onto it. A friend of mine turned me onto it, but I was in a party state all the time anyway. So it was just like, drinking. I was drinking a lot. There wasn't anything like bad in my family that happened or anything like that. I was just not, I don't know. I was just in a party mode all the time. But 99% of the time, there's something that has caused the addiction. The addiction is not the problem. It's just how the problem presented itself.
Well, it becomes pretty gargantuan problem, but
yeah,
it's, everyone I know who's in this, of course, has been through several stints in rehab, but it's not being addressed. And you come out of rehab and you're required to go to a halfway house. And, no offense to anybody who's watching, who's running a great program, but I'm not impressed with a lot of the transitional housing that we have here. And we have some really good programs, but they can't accommodate everybody who needs a halfway house. And I've always, people will ask, well, what are you going to do if you win the lottery? And, we joke about certain things. And my answer has always been, I want transitional housing. I want employment for people who are coming out of incarceration. I want to be that person. Even before I knew what any of this was, that was my answer, because it's needed. And to have really strong programs that address everything that needs to be addressed.
For sure. And halfway houses. Hey, Russ Johns. He's a fellow live streamer and live stream producer. Good to see you, man. For the most part, there are some good ones. For the most part, in Texas, the transition houses are a joke. It's just as bad, if not worse, than being in prison, because now you've got more easy access to stuff coming over the fence or coming in. Most of the time, I'm thinking back when I lived in Houston, a lot of them were in a very bad part of town anyway, like they were in the hood or the ghetto or whatever you want to call it, low income areas where that kind of stuff is prevalent. So you take these guys and you put them in a halfway house, and across the street, there's hookers and drug dealers. Yeah. Like, that's just not, it's not good. And then most of them, it's just, they're shitholes. Most of them are anyway.
And it happens. It happens that way because the real estate in that area is it's more affordable, but also they tend to be on the bus line. So there's access to transportation. And it's also, I've been learning about group homes and how there are only a certain number of individuals who can be in the group home, and you can't have it in a more rural area because of the septic. And so it most often is in the lower income area that's more affordable and on the bus line and on sewer. Why are we talking about septic and sewer? But Just explaining that little glimmer of information I have.
Right. Let's see. Russ Johns had a question. He said, retraining question. What kind of programs need to be created to make bigger impact, do you think?
Hang on. I was looking at a different question. It may have been
Okay.
Samantha. So
We can come
repeat. We
we
can
can
come
come
back to
back to
that.
Russ's if you want to,
Well,
since you were
repeat
reading.
Russ's.
What kind of programs need to be created to make a bigger impact?
What would I call it if I could start from scratch? I'm not
Right.
even sure I have a title, but I know that it's holistic. So we've got the employment factor, transition housing, mental health services, medical, everything that's needed in a one-stop shop. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's probably the short answer. The grant that we have in West Tennessee is providing that, and we're hoping to pull it into East Tennessee, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not something we can just snap our fingers and make happen. But
Right.
that's the one-stop shop that's got everything needed.
Mm-hmm.
Transportation, especially.
Yeah.
Yes, Ken, they are.
Yeah.
But when they
Yeah, they
start
are,
going
Ken.
wrong, when you start having problems with the
Yeah.
septic, you're really in trouble, especially when you
Yeah.
got 8 guys living in one house.
Yeah.
But yeah, that one-stop shop and making sure and quality. And I
Mm-hmm.
want the managers that are the house managers, whether it's me or somebody else, are going to be fully vetted. I am going to put these people through the ringer
Yeah.
and make sure that they are the real deal and can offer what's needed.
Yeah. I agree. All right. Sam had a question.
Okay.
Yeah. They're over here talking about septic and sewer.
Great. I'm glad we're running with that.
Yeah, no, we're going to run all the way with it. Is there a story that you have really cemented in your mind that this is what you were supposed to do? So I guess was there like an aha moment that was like,
I think
I found my
goes,
calling?
yeah, it just goes back to my history story where I'm talking about teaching in the classroom and then
Mm-hmm.
when I was working with adults with disabilities, and my coworker said, "Hey, there is this opportunity," and being able to. I mean, I think it was that moment that I said, "This feels right." I don't question it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
very comfortable with this. And a lot of the time you sit there with your pros and cons list and you're thinking, well, should I change fields? Should I do something different? Should I not do any of this? And, and it was never a question.
Right.
So a story, I do have, I think that the cementing happened before this, but I do have a guy who, again, I'm kind of like the big sister.
Yeah.
And we've been working together for a while. My services were no longer needed when he found a job, and he'd actually had several jobs. And he texted me one night and said, "I really love this job. I feel like I'm helping people, and it means a lot to me." And to hear him say that, that's a big deal. I mean, a lot of people can say that, but to know this person and know that, I used to give him a hard time. I was probably a nag, but a cheerleader at the same time. And I give him a hard time
Mm-hmm.
because, and he could admit this too, he was always in his head. He said, Tiffany, I know I'm in my head. I know I'm in my head. I can't get out of my head. I'm all, I want instant results. I want my answers now. I want everything to happen now, now, now. And he couldn't get to the point, or he was having a hard time getting to the point where he could look ahead and then understand that he was going to get to a point where he could look back and see all the progress that he had made.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept trying to drill this into his head. So if there's going to be cementing, it's probably kind of walking the path with this individual and
Mm-hmm.
seeing his progress and hearing him say, when I tell him, I want you to write down 5 things you're grateful for every morning before you do anything else. And it can be the same things, but try to make them new things. Look outside yourself and find 5 things that you are
Mm-hmm.
grateful for. And we all do our gratitude journals and
Yeah.
such. But I poked. I mean, I kept going, and I think he's getting closer to making that a habit. But I know that's a long answer to the question. but I think that's what cements it for me to have somebody.
Yeah.
I had a guy, we used to take the individuals who needed work apparel to get that.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a trip. I was on a completely different trip. And one of the guys that I'd helped previously came in, and I was kind of surprised. I was like, hey, what are you doing? And he said, I just wanted to come and say hi to you. And that, I know it seems a little cheesy, but that
No,
is
it's
what
not.
makes me beam. If you felt like making that trip just to come and say hello to me and see how I'm doing and just touch base, I'm like, that's a score.
For sure.
Yeah, means a lot.
100%. Yeah. Because people don't just come make trips for somebody that didn't make an impact. So that is a score. That's a big score. I love it.
So what other
Um,
questions?
I think we hit them all so far. Lots of septic comments.
Oh, yeah, I really opened that one up.
Yeah, that's good. I love it. What else you want to tell us? Anything about persevere? Um, if there's anybody in Tennessee that knows somebody that can benefit from this,
And I was going
either
to
in West
say,
Tennessee or East Tennessee.
so we've got all of Tennessee, Nebraska, Georgia, Virginia. It's fairly new in Virginia. South Carolina, we're getting ready to open up. Florida and
Nice.
Arizona. So those six or seven. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a possibility. And I did have somebody ask me if they were in a different state, if they could still apply. And I believe, the answer is no, only because I believe when you fill out the application, and I'd like to give everybody that information, the website and how to apply. But when
Mm-hmm.
you fill out the application, there's a field for the DOC ID and the probation officer name.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's a state assigned field, it has to be in the same state.
Yeah, gotcha. So they would have to move to wherever they
If
couldn't
they
use
wanted
you.
to.
Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah.
costly to move these days.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know, right? For sure. Um, where's his comment? There it is. Chris is actually in Tennessee. Um,
Okay. Yeah,
yeah,
we need to connect.
yeah, you do.
I'm looking at the
Y'all could
comments.
probably have a good partnership there for
Welcome,
sure.
Russ.
Yeah. So, and I should have gotten this from you beforehand. What is the website? I can put it in the comments, or if you want to type it here, you can, or you can just tell me what it is, and I'll put it in the comments over here.
Okay. I'm gonna spell it out because I always want to put a second R in persevere, and there is not a second R in persevere. All right, persevere now. Let's make sure I spelled that correctly. So perseverenow.org. And if you go to services, I have to think about it and what it looks like. I'm a visual person, so I have to have it in front of me.
No,
So
I
you
agree.
go to services, and you'll see a cascade. You'll see a tier, and there's Tech Alliance at the bottom, and then under Tech Alliance there is there's four employers and four applicants.
Okay.
For applicants. I had to think about it again. For applicants. And then you'll see the application, and then of course the submit button at the bottom. Highly recommend that you use a desktop or a laptop, because if you use your phones, sometimes the fields would get stuck. And
Mm-hmm.
I went in to test it out, and I couldn't move out of the social security number field, but I was able to do it on a laptop. So
Okay.
use a laptop or desktop, and they ask you for just a really short paragraph on why you feel like you're a good fit for the program. And then my understanding is that you'll get assessments. There's a language assessment and a math assessment, but please don't let that scare you. I just encourage everybody to take this to the end. And, if for some reason it doesn't work out this round, then just keep trying.
This in the
And I'll put the states in there again.
there it is.
I'm not gonna capitalize.
No, you're good.
Arizona. I have to look at my keyboard because I'm a terrible typist. I can never do coding because
Tennessee,
Tennessee,
Arizona.
Arizona. Well, that's
Are y'all in Arizona?
Florida. Yes, we're in Arizona. And where else? Nebraska and South Carolina. And I believe we're moving into. I know we're moving into Virginia, but I'm not sure if it's outside of the correctional facilities currently. Yeah, you never know. I was a teacher, by the way. I did not capitalize my states, but I really was.
Okay, I put the abbreviations for all of them but Nebraska because I couldn't remember what Nebraska was.
I think is it NE?
That's what I thought too, but I wasn't 100% sure.
Yeah, it's NE.
Okay.
I'll play with you later.
She said, now, play with me now.
She does.
Tiffany, thank you so much for coming on. This has been an amazing conversation. I love
Well,
seeing
you
your
are.
passion. Where in Arizona? Because that's where Russ is at. Russ Johnson's
It's the
in
whole.
Arizona.
It's the
I'll
whole
cover
state.
the whole state.
Yeah, it'll cover the
So
whole state.
do y'all have like physical locations there, or is it remote? Like, how does that work?
I cannot remember which correctional facility we are in Arizona. I do well to remember the ones we have. We have two in East Tennessee, and then there are a couple in West and Middle, but I can't remember the names of each of them in the other states. So if they're in the correctional facility, often there is a person who's an instructor. There's an instructor and an assistant instructor. But more often than not, there is a remote instructor, and there is always a remote instructor in the community.
Okay. Very cool. Very, very cool. This has been awesome. Like I'm mine right now. I've enjoyed this totally. This made my night. Even though I've heard a lot of it before, like a month ago, like getting really able to dig in and then do the, answer audience questions and all that. Like I absolutely loved it. It was a good time. So
well,
thank you.
I'm very excited to have been here, and this is very exciting. So glad to do it. And yeah. Any other questions? I'm trying to look at the comments to see if there are any other questions that I can answer.
While she's doing that, I'm gonna remind everybody. I said it earlier, but Chris Smith will be my guest next week. I'm really looking forward to that too. I've got some good guests lined up. Yeah.
Chris has made the promise that he can connect me to anyone. So we'll see. How about Sandra Bullock, Kate McKinnon? I'm always up for dinner with the two of them.
Right. I don't know if that's exactly what he meant.
Well, you need to choose your words carefully, Chris.
Right.
Nathan, you're welcome. I appreciate you saying that.
Hey, y'all go check out Lisa Marie. She's going to be live here in like 10 minutes, I think, over on her profile for Finding Your Affinity. So y'all go, we do have a question. Y'all go hang out with her for a little while. Yeah, I'm ready to go, Chris. Explain coding.
Okay. So coding, when you go onto a website and you see the graphics, that's the front end of a website. Mm-hmm. And then the back end, we have the front end and the back end, and together it's full stack. So full stack software developing is when you learn both. So front end, you're doing the graphics and the movements on a website. And then the back end is exactly that, what you don't see. And so there are just the coordination of and the gathering of certain symbols and letters written in such a way that it creates a language, and then it develops the program. So it's program development.
Yeah.
And there are various languages: HTML, SQL, CSS, Bootstrap. Have you heard of? Everybody's heard of Java, JavaScript. So each of those is a language, and they learn those specific languages. And then some companies look specifically for, say, Bootstrap or Java, and they hire based on that. And you can actually complete your front end course and be an entry level developer and get a job at that point, and then continue to finish your back end. It was a lot of words that at one point I had no idea what meant, but
right.
I have learned that much. So I hope that explains enough.
Chris said that Sandra Bullock's in Tybee Island right now.
Oh, well, I don't want to know how you know that.
I don't either.
I love her.
Yeah, not that kind of coding, Dave. Yeah, not a medical code. Software coding.
Well, and that's something, it's confusing because when you say coding, there's medical coding and then there's computer coding. So that's on me for not explaining that a little more thoroughly.
That's why I love the audience interaction. They can ask questions and get clarification.
Absolutely. I love it too.
Yeah. All right, y'all. I say it every week. Thank y'all so much for joining me. Thank you for all the support. I couldn't do it without you. I wouldn't do it without you. And it means the world to me. I hope y'all know I don't ever take it for granted. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Tiffany, thank you again for being here. Y'all join us next week at 7:00 Central for Chris Smith. He may or may not be joining us from the gym and talking between sets. I have no idea how that's going to work, but I guess you'll just have to show up and find out. So we will see y'all next week.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, guys.